Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to today's lesson online. Today we'll be continuing our subject of Tazkia. And before that, I'd just like to mention that I hope you had a wonderful Eid, wonderful remaining Ramadan. And I'm sure it was a blessed time. And we can get back into our studies now and start right away. Just before that, I'd like to know if people are watching and they're attending. So if you are, can you kindly respond if you're able to hear me now clearly and see the screen where it's saying overview of lesson, recap of previous lesson, aims and objective of this lesson. Then just respond either in the WhatsApp group or either in the chat on YouTube. Either would be fine. So I have Hamza, Faizan, that's fine. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we're going to be having a look at the concept of Ihsan. Today's lesson is regarding Ihsan. Okay, what is Ihsan and the pleasure of Allah? So far we have learned pleasure of Allah, Tazkia, cleaning or purifying ourselves, making us a better developed person, disciplined person, makes us pleasant in the sight of Allah and enables us to attain the pleasure of Allah. And that is the greatest aim. So what is Ihsan? Can anyone type, Hamza or Faizan, type in what you can remember from the word Ihsan? We looked into this last time, I remember. What can you remember? Or what rings a bell as soon as you hear Ihsan in relation to Tazkiyah? Well, what comes in your mind? Anyone type something? So just use YouTube chat, it'll be easy then. Go ahead, type something and let me know what comes to your thoughts, the first thing that you hear when we hear Ihsan in relation to the topic of Tazkiyah I'm talking about. Anything? To gain Allah's pleasure, okay. That's amongst the right lines. Ihsan is exactly what we're going to be learning about today, okay? So it's fine. Whatever you mentioned, that's correct. Just before that, we're going to recap what we covered before very quickly. We talked about Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. Islam would be same as Faizan. Islam would be to follow the 5 pillars and to submit to all the commands. Iman is to believe. Ihsan is to experience Allah's closeness. Okay, experience. We're going to look into that a bit more focused detail today, and inshallah by the end of today you'll understand what we mean. And I want you to make your own notes in your own way. And the tests and exam that we'll be having will be asking these questions from these lessons. Islam prescribes the behavior of a Muslim. What to do, what not to do. The fiqh, for example. Iman relates to the beliefs and defines them. What you have to believe, and it explains them. And Ihsan refers to the state of heart that determines whether one's Islam and Iman will bear fruits in this life and in the next. Wow, what a statement. Ihsan is a state of the heart. It's a situation, it's a scene, it's a scenario, it's a state which the heart can fall in, and it will tell you whether your Iman and Islam is of high value or low value. Is your Islam and Iman good value or very little value? So your practicing, your believing can be shown by your Ihsan. And Ihsan is a feeling in the heart. A feeling in the heart when a person becomes in Allah's presence. We'll learn that more. So by the end of this lesson, we will be able to know the definition of Ihsan, inshallah, that it's a state, not ibadah itself. and that it's a state of the heart. The different narrations regarding it, narrations means hadith, and what is pleasure of Allah, and how to attain this. How does it relate to our purpose of existence, learning this? What's the benefit of learning this today? From us sitting here for 1 hour or less or more, what's the benefit? Why? The question why is going to be answered now. If we can reach the level of Ihsan, if we can learn it and then reach it, as described by the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in this world, then we will indeed have a wonderful world in the hereafter, because we would have reached our objective. So let me give you an example, right? Imagine in school, there is, let's just say in year 11, there is a person who is expected, everybody in the class is expected to do certain syllabus, to cover a certain set amount of topics, and to have some end of year tests and everything. Now, if one person, he or she achieves everything, A stars, they have gone through the test, they have whizzed through it, and they are super intelligent, and they've received 10, 11 A stars, or however many more they are doing, GCSEs. What state of feeling is that person going to have in the heart? That person is like, wow, I'm accepted. I'm like, even if he doesn't feel like I'm the best, because that could be proud, but if the person feels, wow, I've done my best, and I've achieved that, all that can be achieved, and I've reached the highest. So that feeling is a type of ihsan, but regarding school. So to get that kind of a feeling regarding Islam, and in the field of Islam, and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I am doing the best that I can, my Islam is the highest, my Iman is the highest, and this person reaches a state called Ihsan. It's a spiritual state of presence. Then he's achieved the objective in this world. And inshallah, in the hereafter, starting from the grave, his life will be very, very wonderful. Inshallah, if the person goes like that. Okay. What's the definition of Ihsan now in written form? There's a hadith where it says, if you just follow the Arabic, as you can see it, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. What that means? أن تعبد الله, worship Allah. Ihsan is, it is that you should worship Allah. Yeah, pray, do your worships. But which situation? How should you do your worships? In a situation that as though you are seeing Him, as though you are seeing Allah. But we can't see Allah in this world, can we? He doesn't have an image that we can even imagine in this world. But as though you are seeing Allah. So in your heart, you are feeling His presence and closeness. That is Ihsan. And if you cannot see Him, then you are certain that He's seeing you. You are in a situation where you are determined and you are feeling that He is seeing you. You're being watched. Okay? Let me give you another example. If a person is fasting and they are in the kitchen, nobody's watching, they're on their own, and they have desire for food. Now a person or she goes towards a cake, chocolate, picks up the chocolate cake, and thinks of just eating. But if there's a camera on in the kitchen, and the camera is always watched on, for example, parents' mobile phone or something, and you know this camera's there, every time you go into the kitchen, you're going to be very sensible at even every step you take. Maybe you won't go to steal the biscuits or whatever the parents have warned you from, you won't do. Very unlikely. Why is that? I give another example. When people are on the streets driving cars, if they know there's a speed camera, they slow down. I don't know if you have noticed, but if you know someone drives and they know that there's a speed camera, they will slow down if they are fast, that is. Why? Because they know somebody's watching them and they can get caught. Okay, they know somebody's watching. Sharial, welcome. Assalamu alaikum, that's fine. Thanks for joining. So we're just talking about Ihsan today, and we are recapping that previously we talked about Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. And today we're explaining now what Ihsan is. So if somebody is driving, and I was just going to example, if someone's speeding on the motorway, they slow down when they see a policeman. Why? When they see a police car, actually. Why? Why do they slow down? Because they know that they can get caught and someone's watching them who has honor and who has authority. So in the same way, but much higher level though, when a person will begin to feel this in their heart through self-purification, after doing tazkiyah or whilst they're doing tazkiyah, they're cleaning their heart, they're performing certain dhikr, they're doing the good deeds, they're stopping the sins, etc. They're learning how to do that. They start to develop a certain emotion in the heart, a feeling, a state. It's called a state, okay? The heart can go into different states. Like the state of sadness, state of happiness. This is a state, but this can be stayed with them all the time. Even if they're happy, they're sad, this can stay with them all the time. And that state is called Ihsan. And it is to feel as though Allah is watching you. You're being observed and you're being watched. So will that person do anything wrong, or is he able to do anything wrong easily? Very, 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 very hard. Unlikely. He will not do. The person will not do. If they're feeling they're in a presence, Allah is watching them, and they are being watched, and they can get caught, and they love Allah, so they won't do sins. Anyway, this person, he or she, is following this hadith that Prophet said, and ta'budullah kannatara, worship Allah as though you are seeing Him. Okay, and if you can't see Him, then He sees you. So Ihsan is derived. Read that bold now, the bit in bold. Ihsan is derived from the word Hasan. Hasan means beautiful, okay? In Arabic, Hasan. There's a name as well, Hasan. So Ihsan comes from that, which means good or beautiful. In other words, how can we beautify our Iman, our belief, and our Islam, our practices, to the highest level? So, like developing the highest level of position. Just like I was giving you example about school. If somebody does his GCSEs, he passes all of them A stars, and he's done everything best all year round, and everyone likes him, teachers. Even if he doesn't feel I'm the best, because that can be proudful, but he knows a feeling that I've tried my best and I've done my best shot, and I've been honored for that. I've got respect for that. So that kind of a state of presence is known as Ihsan, but not proud. Proud is something else. This will end before 6 o'clock. 7 or before 7, because I understand you went to masjid and things. Okay, inshallah, we'll finish the lesson before this, I believe, if we go through it well. But do answer when there's questions. Please give your input, then we can get through it a bit faster. Sometimes I ask a question, and it takes about 2 minutes for people to respond, which kind of indicates that they're either not there or they are just doing something else, which is not good. Inshallah, we'll follow, and then after the lesson is over, we can finish. We can close the class, no problem. Okay. Ihsan is derived from the word Hasan, which means beautiful. So how can we make our Islam the most beautiful at the highest level? That's a question. And the reply to this question, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave when Sayyidina Jibreel asked. Hazrat Jibreel asked Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, remember that hadith when they came and they put their knees next to Prophet's knees and they asked, what is Iman? Ya Rasulullah, what is Islam? And Prophet said, Iman is to believe in Allah, angels, Day of Judgment, the 7 articles. And then what is Islam? Islam is to believe in the 5 pillars, minimum 5 pillars: fasting, roza, zakat, hajj. And then the Sahaba, Hazrat Umar, were there, and even they were shocked that how come this man is asking and then saying, yes, you have said right. He's confirming as well. And because he came in a human form, as a Jibreel, after they went, Prophet said, this was Jibreel, he came to teach you some of your religion. And one of the questions he asked at that time as well was this one. Okay, as Jibreel also asked this question, that what is Ihsan? And Prophet said, Ihsan. Prophet didn't say Ihsan being a form of worship, but he said it's a state. Okay, Prophet said certain wordings, and we're going to look into that. The wording that the Prophet indicates that a servant worships Allah the Exalted in a way which is bearing in his consciousness, mind and heart Allah's nearness, and that he is in front of Allah, as if he sees him. Remember, we cannot see him. We cannot. There should be no image. But as if. Let me ask you another question. In your room where you're sitting, if a snake falls in front of you on the table, a snake, large big snake, randomly, and opens his mouth and the tongue is coming out and looking at you eye to eye, inside your eyes, well, what would you do? What would your reaction be? Go on, tell me, what would your reaction be? Your reaction would be completely like scared. Either you'd run away out the room, you'd start doing something, you'd run away, or either you'd stop doing something, whatever you were doing before. You'd even stop the class, everything, even eating, drinking, you'd stop because of the shock. Yeah, you'd be shocked. Because of the shock, you'd stop something, you'd stop doing what you were doing, and you'll start doing something. You'll start doing what you'll do is run and hide, try and hide. So it will make you do something. Imagine a lion comes in the room, a lion, roaring lion, opens the mouth, randomly falls in from the sky in the front. The same thing, you'd be shocked, you'd want to hide, save yourself, whatever. Imagine now you are seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What state would you be in? Again, you would stop doing something and you'd start doing something. What would you stop doing? A person would stop doing anything that Allah dislikes. And he would start doing something. What would he start doing? He'd start loving Allah, he'd start doing anything Allah likes, he'll start doing. So this state is the highest level of Iman, highest level of belief. The believers can come into this. And every Muslim can achieve this. It's not like, okay, you have to hard work, but it's not like school that only some people can do it or some people can't do it. And if you can't do it, you're going to be in the lower tier or the lower set, and etc. etc. No, everyone can do this Ihsan thing. All the Sahaba did. And every Sahabi was not a scholar. They were not all alims, like, masters in hadith, master in fiqh, a master in Hafiz Quran. Not all of them were like this. Some of them were simple people. They knew as much as they learnt only, and they passed on whatever they knew, and they acted on whatever they knew. But they all had ihsan. They were all people of closeness to Allah. So this is really closeness to Allah. Okay, ihsan means closeness to Allah. How do we attain the closeness to Allah? So Faizan, you're right, what you said at the beginning. Yeah, to gain Allah's pleasure. And to gain Allah's pleasure, that's how we attain His closeness. So you are right. Let's go back to the presentation on your screen, please. So in your mind and heart, you are feeling Allah's nearness as if He is in front of you. As if. Remember I said as if. And that requires that one will have fear, one will have awe. Awe means like, out of love kind of shock. Not scared, but awe is more like respect and exaltation of Allah. So really, this is a wonderful thing. This is what we want. It's like having such a strong bond, such a strong relationship with Allah, as though you are looking at Him and He is looking at you. Imagine that there are two people in two different areas. This is the example coming up now. He is being told about lions, reading about lions, shown picture of lions. And another person, he is in front of a lion physically. What's going to happen? So the number one person, in example number one, we are being told about Iman, believing in hell, heaven, grave, Allah subhanahu the angels. We are reading about it. We are being explained about it. Obviously, no pictures. We're being explained about it. We are being described about heaven and hell. Imagine being there physically or seeing it with your eyes. How would you feel? So that level of it, Iman and Islam is called Ihsan. Very high level in your mind and heart. Okay? And this can be achieved. You can achieve this, inshallah. What will be the difference of states between these two people? Type in, answer this question. What do you think? Come on, everyone, put something in. What do you think will be this difference between the two people who can feel, who can see, and who is just reading and hearing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example? Or if not see Allah, at least feel His presence and closeness. What will be the difference? Type in. So Sharial mentioned that if the person would see lion, they would feel shocked. What about when the person would be like this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What do you think he'd feel like? One could be committing sin. Wood can be on the path of deen. Okay. The first one will be interested, but the other one will be awe and afraid. Yes, that's right. You're both right. The first person will only be hearing things, and the person could be in a situation where they're sinful. They might be in a sinful state though, but they're learning things and they're trying to get close to Allah. That's a good level as well. At least they're trying. But the other one, he'd be practically in the path of deen. The person would be acting upon, and not out of force, not like, oh, I have to go and do it. It'd be out of love. It'd be like, I can't live with that. I want to do. That's my life. That's my feed. That's where I get my thirst get quenched when I go to do good deeds, because I get more closeness to Allah. I feel more ihsan. I feel more presence. The first one will be interested, but the other one will be in awe, and he'll be afraid of Allah in the sense that when we say afraid, we mean afraid of His punishment. Yeah, so scared of punishments, meaning like doesn't want to do sins, otherwise he knows the punishments in hellfire and things. If and when we adopt, back to the screen, if and adopt the state of the second person, if we become the second person with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there will be a heaven and earth difference, definitely. When you are really in the presence of Allah, a person flees away from all that exists. Think that Allah is watching me, not the creation. Allah is watching me, not the people nor the world. Don't spend your life always looking at creation, which is the opposite of what is said in the hadith. Rather, spend your life as though you are living with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you will react that Allah is looking at me, you will not consider that people are looking at me. This will help you strengthen your relationship with Allah and weaken your relationship with the creation. Yeah, not attached to creation like you should be attached to Allah. So strengthening your bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's different narrations. I'm just going to read through this of Ihsan. When the Prophet ﷺ was asked, they said actually it's in 3 different places, this as well. In another narration of Abu Hurairah, state that Ihsan is to fear Allah as if you see Him. So in one definition, just the reading the bit in red, it's fear Allah as if you see Him. In another narration, it's work for Allah as though you are seeing Him. Yeah, meaning have mercy on people, compassion, be kind, anything, do the ibadat, serve Him. Fasting, for example, people fast, but all of their day they are like this in the presence of Allah. That's a high level fast. We probably didn't even think that once. So work for Allah as though you are seeing Him. The other one is live your life as though you are seeing Him. So you see there's 3 different levels. Firstly, fear Him, build the fear, build the love. Then do your actions as though you're living. Then live your whole life. Do all of your actions. Yeah, so there's level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 3 is really the highest, is that you're always in that state. MashaAllah. So the question is that Sayyidina Jibreel asked one question, yet Rasulullah ﷺ gave 3 replies. Why? And the answer to this is because Rasulullah ﷺ was mentioning the stages of Ihsan. Ihsan has stages as well. There are stages. You start with worship, then work yourself up. So worship, fear, love, and then build up to a state where you're seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For some, they begin with the fear of Allah. Due to fear, they break their ties with shaitan and shaitanic friends, and then they really start to worship Allah. So they'll cut off bad friends. A person might he's beginning to fear Allah. He's scared about the day of judgment and hellfire, grave, and really understood now what's going on, and really understood who Allah is, and about it because he studied Aqidah and things. And what they would do, they would start to cut off shaitanic things, which is correct, which is good. This is the first level. Once this happens, then begin all their life that they should spend like this, as though you are seeing Allah. So basically, the first level is stopping the sins, isn't it? From the tongue, ears, eyes, body, stomach. Yeah, all of the body parts. Then, alhamdulillah, the person stopped all the shaitanic things. Now, and he's feared Allah. He's done taqwa. Now, they should follow the order. And the order is fear, then worships, and then live all life. Okay? In all of this, if any changes to come in a person, they need to do mujahida. Ihsan is the fruit of your labor. Mujahida means labor. Labor means not the government party. Labor means the effort, struggle. Okay, putting in hard work. Just like I was giving you example about the person in school. Nobody will be able to achieve high star A grades in GCSE without hard work. You know that. Yeah, that's a good example. You know, each one of us know that. Without putting in the effort and probably extra effort, alhamdulillah, even if someone's gifted, even if someone can do it, even if someone's sharp, still they put the effort. That's why they're like that. They put in effort, a lot of effort. And if somebody puts a lot of effort and he says that he's not achieving it, that's not true, because they are achieving. Even if they don't feel it, they are achieving. So in order to get to the number 3, you have to do the jihad, struggle. Yeah, put effort in. And ihsan is the fruit. So when you climb up the tree and you go to grab the fruit, it's ihsan what you're gonna get. That's the fruit of the labor. Okay, everyone understood up to so far? Is everyone with us? Hamza, I've not heard response from you for a while. Sharial and I believe Ayan should be with you. Faizan, you still with us? Just type in yes, no here. Everything fine. Any questions up to now? Any questions so far before we move on? The ultimate aim. And then that's it really. We've almost ended. Any question? Yes, is that a question or? Hamza, are you here? Sharial, are you here? We'll move on. Ultimate aim is the pleasure of Allah. Why are we doing all this? Why do we need to even attain ihsan? It is so that we can get the pleasure of Allah. So rida Allah, rida means pleasure, and Allah is Allah. So rida Allah, the pleasure of Allah, means Allah being pleased with the servant. Okay. Question, what is the objective of this path? Hamza, are you here with us on the lesson online? Please answer if you are. Question, there's a question. There's 2 questions. Okay. The first question is, what is the objective of this path? The objective, and the answer is the pleasure of Allah. In other words, for Allah to be pleased with us, to please Allah, the Lord of the world. That's the main objective. Okay? That's the objective. Second question, how can I please Allah, the creator of all? The answer is, in order to please Allah Ta'ala, one must do 4 things. Number 1, give preference to Allah and His commands. So he must choose Allah's commands. So Allah's command is, for example, to do something, and you know that, but you don't feel like doing it. So your feeling is basically your nafs. In order for me to do it, if I put my effort in and struggle and go and do that act, that command, thing Allah wants me to do, I am doing something called mujahida. It's called mujahida. I'm struggling. I'm putting in extra effort, labor. That's what this number 1 means. Okay, giving preference. So in order to do, if I do that, I start to get ihsan. A person will start to develop ihsan. And that's how he achieves the pleasure of Allah as well. Number 2, give preference to the Holy Prophet ﷺ and honoring his ways of life and teaching. Same way, same thing. I know this is a sunnah. I know this is Prophet ﷺ's lifestyle, and they liked it, and Allah likes it. Allah loves it. He chose the Prophet ﷺ to dress like this, to eat like that. Now I know it, but I'm not doing it because I'm lazy, or I feel like doing my own way. Just feel like doing something else. So if I sacrifice that feeling and I take the step and cross the road, then a person begins to achieve the pleasure of Allah. Becomes so happy with that person. That's real deen. That's how you can please Allah. That's how you please Him, and that's how you can get high grade. Number 3, compassion upon creation. Creation meaning your relatives, your family, your friends, your neighbors, all the people you know. Everyone who knows you, everyone you know, they're creation for you. Okay? If you could do good to them, you do good. If you can't, wish good for them. Have good thoughts, have good intention. Okay. Yeah? You don't have money. Okay, when I do have money, I will do this good to them. So that's again intention. Number 4, presence of Allah. Presence of Allah is the ihsan thing. So when you begin to prefer Allah, when you begin to prefer our Holy Prophet ﷺ, when you have compassion upon the creation, and when you begin to develop the presence of Allah, guess what happens? Can anybody guess? This what begins to happen. You begin to get the pleasure of Allah. You begin to get the rida of Allah. Have a look at this diagram. You could take a picture of it if you can. Other than that, it can be given to you anyway if you can't take a picture. 4 objectives to attain the pleasure of Allah. The ultimate aim on top of the Kaaba is the pleasure and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the ultimate objective. Yeah. The box representing like the Kaaba is, look, it's got 4 things inside it. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. And that box is attached to the door. Excuse me. Number 1 is to give superiority to Allah by giving preference to His commands in words, deeds, and thoughts, inwardly and outwardly. So you are speaking about Allah. In your words, you are preferring Him. Yeah. In your actions, you are preferring Him over other things. In your thoughts, you are thinking about preferring Him over other things, and inwardly and outwardly. Number 2, giving superiority to the Prophet ﷺ and his sunnah by loving him, honoring him, following his sunnah in all walks of life, again, inwardly and outwardly. So same way, by your tongue, you are praising the Prophet, you're saying the good words, and you're mentioning to others. By your actions, you are also practicing the Prophet's life. And this way, others also, you can be seen that you are following sunnah. Number 3, you're having compassion upon people, upon the creation by fulfilling their rights and benefiting them. They have 2 kinds of benefit. Number 1 is worldly affairs, A, and B is hereafter. The things regarding the world is like clothing, food, shelter, medical accommodation, and other needs. So if you can help people out in this kind of stuff, calling other people to do it collectively in an organized manner, creating an environment in which all of these things are easily attainable for all. So this is compassion. Yeah, you're doing welfare for them. The other part is hereafter, where you're inviting them towards the good and saving them from evil. So you're inviting people towards good, towards the path of Allah, towards good deeds. You're calling other people to join and do these collectively at all levels. So you're helping them out in all ways they can, different ways they can do good deeds. And you're creating an environment to which it becomes easy for them to be saved from evil and sins and live a righteous, pure life. So this is having compassion upon people, in whether it's in A or B, the worldly or the next world. So number 1, choosing Allah. Number 2, Prophet. Number 3, creation. Number 4, constantly aware of presence. All of these 3 are done whilst you're constantly aware and presence of Allah. Remember we read at the beginning, to live your life as though you are, to work as though you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. So you're doing all of this, number 3, as though Allah is watching you. You're doing all this hard work as though Allah is watching you. And this is the spirit, this is the rule of all the 3, is to be in the presence of Allah. So when you have these 4, guess what happens? And you do good deeds purely for the sake of Allah, not for any other motive. And you're constantly aware that I cannot serve Allah like He deserves, do my best effort, but I'm only trying. Yeah, as long as you believe, I'm still trying, I'm weak, I'm trying my best, but still I can't do it like Allah deserves. Allah deserves more higher than I can even do. And it's purely through Allah's grace I'm traveling on the straight path and I will achieve His pleasure. If you have these thoughts and feelings and you do these 3, 4 things, guess what happens? You begin to attain the pleasure of Allah. And when you get that, you get Ihsaan as well. And that's the biggest aim and objective. The question is, what's the door then? How do you enter that? The door, entering the door, is basically the tariq. It's the suluk. It's the path. It's the Tazkia, the way of Tazkia. Okay? You remember that card you have? Do you remember, Faizan? Sharia Al Hamza, you remember the card we have? We've got it in our folders in Masjid. The Tazkia card starting from the tongue sheet, the tongue card, and the dhikr, and the explaining the journey of humankind. That way, starting that, is what's going to make you enter the door. Once you start it, automatically you are beginning to do these 1, 2, 3, 4 things now. And how do you enter it? That's the teacher. The teacher is going to start you off, and he's going to be the one to open the door for you, so that person can enter inside. Yeah. So that's all for today. The summary of today is that we defined ihsan. Any questions, you can type them in now in the chat. We defined it. The definition was to live as though you're seeing Allah. There was different narrations. One is to worship Him, one is to fear Him, one is to work, and one is to live your life as though you're seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pleasure of Allah and how to attain it. Yep, we talked about that. Any questions? I'm going to give you up to 6:40. Any questions you can ask, then we will switch off, inshallah. Any questions about today or anything regarding this topic? Please ask now. No questions? Then please type no. Okay, then if there's no questions, then inshallah see you in the classroom tomorrow. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.